and I'm a certified holistic health coach. All discussions in this podcast are general information and not intended for medical advice. Please consult with your physician or healthcare provider for any questions or concerns. Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to Wholesome Together. I'm your host, Tamar. Today, we will have a special guest, Bill Quateman, on, and he is going to be talking about IV ozone therapy and the magic that it does as far as healing, making us live till 120, and also preventing diseases, curing viruses, and just living to your peak performance. And good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Tamar. Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming. I'm really excited to have you on.
Thank you very much. That was a great review. I mean, ozone can also help you learn how to play the flute and build box girder bridges. just
Amazing. So, Bill, I want to start with, we'll get to ozone because that's like, I'm so excited to talk about that. But first, I do want to talk about what you do, your company, and how you got started. Bill has an amazing company, and he is just there to help people, just like I am, in this holistic, natural approach. And share with us about how you got started and what you do.
Well, like anything pretty much in anybody's life, if you pay attention to it, my story is a personal story. My father had a massive heart attack at the age of 48 and then passed away at 54 with the full cocktail of heart disease and cancer and all kinds of stuff. So I remember the day that I had this flash that whatever's going on, his father, my grandfather, who I never met, also died of heart disease at 54. I figured I needed to know something that I didn't know so that I could live a long, healthy, joyful, active life instead of leaving early. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's really kind of where it started. I started out like anybody does. You look into stuff and you start reading and researching, and I started taking some vitamin C and some other vitamins and so forth. But in the context of things, it led to my ability to find out what was going on more and more. It is a passion of mine. I, started a publishing company to write a book about step families because that's what I have, a bunch of kids from a couple different places. And I had a really interesting run with that. And then I met a doctor in the field of orthomolecular medicine. Orthomolecular medicine is, ortho means best, most appropriate in this case, and molecular is the smallest molecule. So the best, most appropriate, smallest molecule are coming from nutrients for the human body. And that's really will lead us into the further conversations we're going to have. But the idea is that he wanted to write a second book, and I decided I would publish his book and help that go rather than being on the road as a parenting expert myself, being away from my own kids. So that's really what put me in the corridor for this. And then so things developed. I became marketing director, then president of this company. And then we had a shared partnership in the business. And then as things unfolded, there were some personal issues that led me to start my own company, Advanced Biocell. And that's what I've been developing for the last 15 years, I guess you might say, specifically. And that's
amazing.
Today, yeah.
And so Advanced Biocell is a concierge for natural medicine resource. Tell us what you do and how you resource people to where they should be and what they need.
To heal the human biology from any illness or disease, or to create personal best, to slow the aging process, reverse whatever markers can be reversed, and extend life. They're basic elements. There's essentially 6 basic elements. Those elements are oxygenation, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where the ozone mixed with medical grade oxygen comes in. There's hydration, there's nutrification. These then result in a proper pH balance. There's cleansing and detoxification. Those are the elements it takes to heal from a disease or illness or extend your life. It doesn't change. All the practitioners in the sector of integrative natural medicine simply and plainly agree on those basics. So then the only variable in this conversation is what is the delivery system for all that? And that's really the opening door to advanced biocell. It's kind of square one. So
Mm-hmm.
what we do with the ozone and the high dose 10 pass ozone is the oxygenation element. We have personal nutrition testing, metabolic testing, which reveals each individual's biochemistry. The biochemistry makes or breaks your metabolic function. Your metabolic function is how your body takes nutrients, holds them, and uses them. You are what you eat is incomplete because you are what you hold on to.
You are what you absorb. That's right.
What
Because if we're not
exactly?
absorbing what we eat, we're not getting any nutrients.
Exactly, exactly. So the oxygenation, the nutrification, the proper nutrification then leads once again to the diet, lifestyle, and nutraceutical choices that you make, which end up creating the proper pH balance. You know, there's so much of what we talk with our clients about that has to do with what you don't eat,
Right.
which is as important as what you do eat, because truly, in fact, people eat too much and they don't eat the right stuff. So it's really a reorganizing process. So advanced biocell is a organized approach to peak living, you might say.
Amazing. Yeah, that's right. Because if you're eating all food that's not organic and sprayed with pesticides and eating animal sources that are pumped with antibiotics, I mean, there's not just one, vitamin C is not going to just help you live till 120. That's just not going to happen.
No, the essence of what one would want to do for themselves has to do, we'll keep coming back to this with those 6 elements. And cleansing and detoxification is, it's one of the 2 stepping stones, classic, irrefutable stepping stones for exceptional health. And cleansing and detoxification is done any number of ways. I mean, one wants to think of cleansing and detox actually as a way of life, kind of a
Hmm.
day to day thing. You can do mild, you can do medium, you can do intense, but keeping all these things organized is really what we bring to people. So much of what goes on, yeah, we've got great protocols and great devices and great practitioners and great information, but really the first thing is someone wants to get educated and learn something that they may not know.
That's right. I'm so happy to know about you and your service, and I can definitely utilize that for my clients in the future because that is truly helpful. Um, so, moving on, unless you have something else you'd like to add, do you want to start kind of telling us a little bit about ozone? I know there's different types of ozone.
Well, there's not really different types of ozone as much as there again
Well, I meant
are
like
different
topically, intravenously.
delivery. Yeah, deliveries.
Yeah,
Ozone,
deliveries.
generally speaking, is one of the cornerstone pieces to anybody's health routine. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just simply and plain what it is. You might call it the wild world of ozone, and it has so many beneficial effects in a basic kind of way. I mean, we do the essentially the gold standard version of ozone delivery with the high dose 10 pass treatments that we do. The benefits of ozone are 3. the concentration, the quantity, and the frequency.
Mm-hmm.
That being the case, our German ozone device delivers the highest concentration, it delivers the highest quantity, and because you're getting 10 applications, you might say, what it is, it's 10 pass means we express 220 milliliters of blood out of the vein into
Mm-hmm.
a surgical bottle. We infuse that bottle with ozone and medical grade oxygen, and then in a flash, that kills off whatever microforms are in that bottle, and then we send that bottle that's just been treated back into the vein. So that out and in is what's called a pass. And what we do are 10 of those passes in a single treatment, which is why it's called high dose,
Mm-hmm.
10 passes, right? So there are, we have ozonated face soap, we have ozonated toothpaste, we have a home ozone device that we distribute,
Wow,
which
I would love to get the home ozone device in my home. I was actually, I've been learning about it and how good it is for your oral health as well as amongst a million of other things that we'll get into. That you said you have you have a toothpaste. I've seen that there's a mouthwash, and I guess you can also inject it into your wrinkles and scars.
yeah, you can have ozone directly injected for diminishing the lines and stuff like that. And we don't do that, but it is doable.
So it's like
One of the
getting
things,
Botox or something, but a way better treatment that's not actually a toxin.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. One of the misconceptions people have that we're kind of bringing to the table is that direct IV is one way of administering ozone, which means you take the ozone and the oxygen, have it into a vial that is a syringe, and you can directly inject the ozone and the oxygen into the vein,
Mm-hmm.
which is where we started with this many years ago in a galaxy far, far away. But really
How
and
long
truthfully,
ago did ozone kind of start the treatments? How long ago?
mine or
In
in the
general.
history. In the history,
Yeah,
oh, ozone really was created by Nikola Tesla.
that's right. I read about that.
Ozone generating by him, and then like what, early 1900s.
Okay.
Ozone is very, very popular internationally.
Right. Just not
It
in the US, right? It's the least popular in the US.
Well, it's just subject to the pharmaceutical chokeholds. I mean, the FDA doesn't want people. The pharmaceuticals doesn't want people. The AMA doesn't want people to take advantage of the benefits because it'll cut into their money flow. I don't want to cause trouble and have anybody feeling bad about it, but that's why the United
Hmm.
States has lagged behind. Cuba has a ozone protocol for many, many, many years. Egypt, Russia, Germany, Austria, Thailand. I mean, internationally, over 5,000 practitioners for 50 years have been having tremendous results. And we can just touch on the fact that ozone was mandated in Singapore in the very early stages of COVID. A high dose ozone and vitamin C was just getting rid of COVID in 2, 3 days,
Right.
period.
Yeah, and there's a reason because doctors and hospitals have to be aware that there's ozone, but there's a reason why they're not using it. So, I mean, I would love to start to get into just to simplify for people to hear what kind of viruses ozone treats and how it's almost like a mild form of exercise for our body. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a little bit of a stress like you get from exercising or fasting, and then the
Hmm.
body brings up its ability to combat that, and that's where the immune function gets put into play. And there's so many different aspects for ozone. It increases the delivery of oxygen to the cells. That's important because the essence of health and wellness is a result of the levels of active oxygen in the blood over time.
So that rejuvenates the mitochondria, and that creates the energy and the ATP. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, it stimulates the production through the
Mm-hmm.
mitochondria of the ATP, and that's what happens. Um, the idea is that the research shows it very clearly. Anyone that has the highest levels of active oxygen in their blood over time never gets cancer.
That's right, because what kills cancer cells? Oxygen.
Oxygen, well, most importantly, is that the pathogens and the microforms, and certainly the zombie cells like cancer and the like, cannot survive in a oxygenated environment. In this
Mm-hmm.
case, we're talking about anyone's blood supply.
So what happens if someone has cancer and they might be going through treatment, whether it's radiation or chemo, and what would ozone therapy do to them at this point? How would they benefit from it? Could it be used in conjunction?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Coming back to square one, ozone makes anything work better. If you are getting ozone treatments, chemotherapy works better. If you're getting ozone treatments, antibiotics work better. Why? Well, it's the same story, square one. When you have oxygenated blood, your red blood cells do what they're supposed to do. They call it life's blood, right? You've heard that, life's
Mm-hmm.
blood. And that's
Yeah.
why. It's because when your blood is operating in the way it's supposed to operate, when we're 19 years old, Tamar, our
I'm
little
still
red blood.
19.
Yeah, I'm 18. I'm 18. I have the mentality of an 18-year-old. I make no bones about it. It's okay. It keeps me moving. My wife is happy about my attitude. But your blood cells, your red blood cells, when you're 19, are nice, plump, juicy grapes, you might say. They look like nice, round grapes. They're
Mm-hmm.
expanding easily to take in oxygen and water and nutrients and light. And then they contract easily. And when they contract, they push out the toxins, which then goes into the bloodstream to be eliminated from the body.
Mm-hmm. It's the
That's the way.
natural detoxification. When you're young, your body's just working in its full ability to do that.
Yeah, well, mainly because there's not a lot of the disturbances and interferences and pathogens and microforms that are blocking the performance of a good blood cell. So, you come in clean and then stuff starts happening. So,
Which is the way
when
we handle the oxidative stress in our body, right?
exactly, exactly. So, what happens is what I typically call life. People used to say to me, "What do you think the biggest health problem people have is?" And I used to say, "Well, I think it's their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
People's opinion interferes with anything they would be able to do it themselves outside of the norm." But now I've been thinking that the biggest health problem we all have is just waking up in the morning and subjecting our body to the onslaught of living every day. It's pretty intense that is what we do, but life happens,
Well, it's
and
a pretty
slowly but
toxic world.
well, it is, which is where we come back to what we do at Advanced Biocell, which is to talk to people about creating a bubble for themselves that they can live in, whether it's pure
Mm-hmm.
air, pure water, proper nutrients, mineralized nutrients. Um, there is have you ever heard of the Arizonian Biosphere number 2?
No.
Uh, Great story. Like in the 80s, 70s or 80s, there was a concept that if you had pure air, pure water, and mineralized soil where you could
Mm-hmm.
grow food that had minerals in it because you could only get minerals in the vegetables from the soil, what would it be like to live in such an environment? So they created this big glass place in Arizona called the Arizonian Biosphere. Then they amped it up. Now it's called the Arizonian Biosphere 2. And they put two couples in there. And they lived in there for a year with mineralized soil where they got their foods with the minerals in it. They had pure
Mm-hmm.
water and they had pure air. After a year, they went to UCLA gerontology. They were assessed, and it turns out that they said if they kept doing that, they would live to their biology capability of 120 years old.
Wow.
So that's kind of like
Yeah.
what.
I mean, people are getting sick at like 80 and suffering. And if you just did things like ozone therapy, you wouldn't have to live until 80 because we're actually supposed to live until 120.
Yeah, that's what the biology is made for.
Hmm.
Ozone is a cornerstone piece, but again, what it takes to live well and be well and live long is everything.
Yes, definitely.
Ozone's dramatic. It's tremendously important in the context of things. The right nutrient levels, the air that you breathe, the water that you drink or put on your body,
Hmm.
um, laughing a lot, playing with the kids and the animals, having enough hugs,
Socializing. Yes.
walking barefoot on the ground. I mean, all these things matter.
Birthing.
You
Of
know,
course.
there's,
They
there's not.
do. So then as far as like how ozone IV therapy works, like which viruses, I know some of them that it cures and treats, like hepatitis C, herpes, HIV. It helps with mold, Lyme disease, parasites. What else? What did it have to do with polio? I read something about it having a lot to do with the cure of polio.
Um, I think all of this comes back to square one. When it comes to viruses, um, ozone is antiviral in its way. The first thing you need to do with any virus is to stop it from replicating.
That's right. So this stops it from replicating.
Right. We're all born with bugs and infections that grow and replicate throughout our life. It's part of the birthing process. You go through
Hmm.
the when you're born one way or another, you take up the infections and the bugs that your parents had because that's how your body sets you up to be protected from the other part of things, which is being in the world instead of in the womb.
Right. It's our
So,
immunity. It's kind of like how our immune system works.
yeah, exactly. So that's part of the human process. And again, we are all made of viruses and bacteria. So the idea is not to get rid of the stuff. The idea is to get it so that the beneficial microbes are able to be present and act on our behalf, and the bad guys, the zombie microbes, are not having the impact that they would have if that wasn't the case.
Right.
So if you're talking about viruses, whether it's herpes or Epstein Barr
Mm-hmm.
or HIV, I mean, it's all related. And then again, it comes back to square one. What's the delivery system? If you have the high dose 10 pass, you have enough treatments in a close enough proximity to themselves, depending on the status of your own biology. Some people come in and they're just riddled with stuff and they have a high sensitivity. So it takes a little less ozone to begin with, a slower moving process because you don't want anybody to feel too uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the point it is always getting back to square one: oxygenation, hydration, nutrification, pH balance, cleansing, and detoxification. So anytime you're addressing those issues and stopping the underlying disease processes from growing and actually put it in a context where you're actually relieving the body burden of those problems, you set the stage for healing.
Right. And then, do you guys do any of the like ozone saunas or any of the other? I guess there's also the insufflation ozone that you can do in your nose. You can do vaginally or in your rectum. Do you guys offer any of those treatments, or is it solely the IV ozone?
What we do in the clinic is strictly the IV ozone treatments.
Hmm.
That's the starting point and the most impacting thing. When it comes to ear insufflation or rectal insufflation or vaginal insufflation, that's where our home ozone device comes into play, because you can do that at home. And if you want to have an ongoing contact with ozone, it's also makes ozonated water, which gets back to the oral part of it. I mean, anybody that drinks ozonated water on a regular basis will get rid of an ulcer, for example.
Yeah, I read about that too. And also, it's also very effective and safe for babies.
Well, yes. I mean, the water would be good for the babies. I mean, any way that you put ozone into your system. I mean, I do IVs on babies. Our youngest client has been a 9-year-old, and they benefited really greatly from it. They had a minor issue, but it wasn't bad. Ozonated oil for topical,
Hmm.
ozonated toothpaste. We have ozonated aftershave cream, ozonated face
Amazing.
soap.
My daughter actually had a tongue tie and she had it revised. And I went to a holistic dentist and he actually gave us ozone water to put on it while it was healing from the laser.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. My dentist that I go to is a artist. He's an artist and a savant in his own way, Dr. Chester Yokoyama, and he and his staff are biological dentists that, I mean, they don't have any toxic glue in the floorboards in their office, but they
Yeah,
use
that's how ours is too. Joseph
yeah
Sarkeesian
they
also.
use ozonated water to rinse out before, to rinse out after.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then as far as I've also heard that athletes could use ozone treatments to get like peak performance and they'll actually run faster and feel less worked when they're running or whatever sport they do.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I can't remember his name. Alexander, one of the superstar soccer players from the Brazil team that won the cup last year or the year before. I can't remember. He used ozone regularly to recover. It speeds athletic recovery. You
And
know,
also pain management, right? It also helps with pain.
it can. It can. It depends on what the pain is and what you're dealing with. People call oftentimes for um, back pain that they have, spinal issues that they have. And while that can be helpful, the first thing I do with a structural issue is send them to my friend Dr. Jeffrey James, who's a chiropractic neurologist. They do spinal decompression. So you
Mm,
you can have prolozone, which is ozone mixed with saline and some other elements that go directly into the joint for relief of pain. We don't do that, but it is
mhm.
something that can be done. It's generally a temporary kind of pain relief, but so we always do our best to get to the underlying structural, physiological
Your cause.
disease process. Yeah.
And then what does ozone do as far as COVID? As well, we talked about what you said in Singapore. You said right with they were treating COVID patients with the ozone and the vitamin C. Are you seeing anyone coming in like maybe that still, even though they've gotten over COVID and they might be suffering from symptoms that are just prolonged or as a preventative? How does it help with COVID?
The same thing. I mean, there's a book called Ozone, A Cure for Life.
Mm-hmm.
And you get it at Amazon. It's by one of the doctors in Italy that reports story after story after story after story after story of how ozone treatments got rid of COVID with even sick and nearly dying patients.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that, the pharmaceutical companies are well aware of this, but there's a reason, and it's a business that they're not really trying to cure us and keep us healthy. And this is why I have this platform and have people like you on my show so that we can just let people know what treatments are out there. And, taking antibiotics is not really going to cure you because it's actually going to really cause holes in your gut, and your gut health is your whole immunity. So you want to do things like this as a preventative or a cure instead of going to pharmaceuticals, which have horrible side effects.
Well, exactly. I mean, the point of our story at Advanced Biocell is to bring people's attention to the toxic soup we're living in, to the education that we have not had, and to
Mm-hmm.
understand. I mean, I don't need to be a bang the drum against the pharmaceuticals and AMA and insurance company guy. It's something I did years ago, but it wasn't fun. Because the truth is that the pharmaceuticals have a chokehold on the world. So here's the truth: the FDA is not your friend. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the government is not your friend. The
Sure.
pharmaceutical companies have drugs that will take away. You know, if you are in a emergency situation, you have trauma or emergency, you want to go to an ER. And if it's really hurting, you want to take a pain pill. You just want to get out of a stressed moment so that you can stabilize. The whole idea is to stabilize from something, but trauma and emergency is one of those things that you want to attend to so that you can settle down and stabilize. After that, there's really not much that they have to offer. And so the point of the story is we, like, you know, we're babies, we're infants, we're born, our parents take us to the pediatrician. The guy in the white coat comes in and says, do this and this and this. And the parents go, oh yeah. Everybody's oohing and ahhing. So from the time you are barely able to even look around, you have this big to do with the guy in the white coat telling you what to do, and it takes a
With your
lifetime.
child. With your child.
Right, right, right. So by the time you get to a place where you say, okay, I'd like to know something that I don't know, what we do with our process and our education is to get people to a place where they can know what's going on instead of guess about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it
I
takes a
completely.
Yeah, it takes a certain mentality. You have to say, okay, well, I want to know something about integrative natural medicine
Mm-hmm.
versus just continuing on with the conventional setting. I mean, there are people that are in my family. They they just do the deal with the conventional thing. I
Yeah, some
don't.
people just trust and believe in it, and that's what they know, and that's what they want to know, and that's what they believe in. I mean, when I had a baby, I really did my research. Plus, I was already more on the integrative side. And I was so lucky to find my pediatrician, Dr. Edmund Saraf. And he taught me so much. And he truly loves our babies and, gives informative consent and informed consent. And, you choose what you want to do. And he tells you the risks and the benefits, and you decide.
Exactly. Well, that's called functional medicine, where the
Mm-hmm.
practitioner and the patient or the individual meet at the 50-yard line. That's what we tell people all the time. You know, you get out what you put in.
Right. Exactly.
So if you're willing to do 50%, your 50%, you'll get the benefit. We know what's going on. It's not, I'm no genius. I'm just a concierge that brings a network of incredible integrative natural medicine practitioners information to the table. I've been mentored and I've learned from, and I referred to this astonishing group of practitioners for many, many, many years. And it's just not that mysterious. If you
Mm-hmm.
attend to the basics on a daily basis, you will reap the benefits. But you've got to be in the game. And as much as anything else, your attitude. I always say attitude isn't everything, it's the only thing.
Right. Bill, how many, as far as treatments, do you notice a difference with one treatment, or do you generally? I'm sure it depends on the severity of what you're treating, but do people typically notice a difference after one treatment, or is it several treatments that they would notice any difference, any benefits?
Well, like you said, it depends on what you're coming in with, based on what you're. Most everybody that comes in is depleted to some level or another with the levels of oxygen in the blood. So when you put
Mm-hmm.
that oxygen in the blood, typically there is a real experience of an energized biology. Sometimes you'll get fatigue, some of the quote unquote,
Detoxifying kind
yeah,
of.
detox
Yeah.
effects, die off effects, hurt stuff is it can be fatigue, it can be headaches, it could be achiness, it could be any number of things depending on
Mm-hmm.
the severity of your own biology at the time. But typically,
And how
people,
toxic your body really is, right?
oh,
Also would
right,
depend.
right. So, generally speaking, yes, people do feel. There was one client that came in and he said after his ozone treatment, he had so much energy he couldn't sleep. And then the next day, he went out and worked out harder than he'd ever worked out. He said typically when he doesn't sleep, he's trashed, but this was a totally different experience. So,
Wow.
mm,
Well, Bill, it was such a pleasure having you. And I'll tell you, I cannot wait to come in and have this done. I want to get some ozone therapy, and I will definitely be reaching out to you for it. And anyone else that's interested, we will definitely post the information of how to get in contact with Bill and his website. And I look forward to actually getting to meet you and having this treatment done myself.
thank you very much, Tamara. I look forward to working with you.
Until next time, we'll be in touch, and I will see you guys all next week.
Fabulous.
Bye, Bill.
Bye.